Hey all, XArt student here. Today on XArtEducation we are going to learn about vinyl cutter machines and a heat press. So I have this vinyl cutting machine. It's basically a giant Cricut. It's important to turn it on and make sure it's plugged in. These are the settings I usually leave my vinyl cutter on. You can adjust the speed and the force based on the vinyl that you have. When you buy the machine, it most likely comes with a cutting program. This one is specifically for not Macs, which is exactly what I have. So I wound up using my husband's laptop, plugging it in, and it works fine. It's just a designing platform. You can create t-shirt designs or fabric designs on here using pre-made shapes, fonts, colors, etc. And when you have your final design, you click the cutting tool. Make sure that you have enough vinyl for this area that it's cutting, and eventually click Cut Now. But I'm going to show you if you were to drag and drop your own design. I draw my design on Photoshop and then I just copy the file without exporting it, and I could easily upload it to this cutter program. Next, click Arrange and then mirror the image. You need to flip the design because the vinyl will be flipped when you're cutting it. Now we're tracing the lines, so then the machine knows what to cut. I like to put it at the minimum trace size, so then all my tiny details that I drew will hopefully show up. Not all of them will, but I try my best. When you like the blue outline on it, press Accept. Before we start cutting, let's insert the vinyl upside down. And make sure you click all of these into place so it won't move, and line it up to the vinyl cutter line. Now that the vinyl's loaded, it's time to press Cut, and make sure that the size on the scale here is the same as the size of vinyl that you have. When you're ready, press Cut, press Yes, and then just watch your design. You don't have to babysit it the whole time, but it's kind of good to keep an eye out to make sure that the design is actually cutting the way you want. When the cutting is done, unlatch the back, and then pull out your design, as well as turning off your machine. Lay out your vinyl. It's going to be the backwards design because we flipped it. Cut the excess so it's easier to weed or take out the pieces you don't want. And then we go in with weeding tools. My favorite has to be the tweezers. You can choose whatever you like though. And now it's time to weed. This is a very sped up process. It usually takes a lot longer and you have to be very careful. If it's easier, keep a printout or a sketch or the actual design next to you so you know which pieces to take off and which ones you want on the t-shirt. It might also be helpful to flip the design over to make sure that it's actually what you want. Remember, any piece of gold that's there is going to end up on your piece of fabric or shirt. So if it's a tiny dot of vinyl that you don't want on it, make sure you take it off. Now we're moving on to the heat press. The first thing you have to do is turn it on. I have my temperature set to 305, so I let it heat up. And while it's heating up, I actually press down the heat press onto my fabric. This gets out most wrinkles, and also it's kind of good to have a warm base, so then the vinyl kind of sticks to it and you don't have as many problems. When you're happy with where your piece should go, put down parchment paper or like a cookie sheet, press down the heat press, and wait those 12 seconds. And when it reaches 0, that means it's done, and it's time to see how the piece turned out, to see if all the heat transfer vinyl actually transferred onto the shirt. Make sure you peel at like a 45-degree angle or even lower. I try making it as close as possible to the shirt so then not all the vinyl will stick to that transparent piece. And I put it in for another 7 seconds to make sure that everything's sticking properly. And everything looks good. It's sticking nicely. I like how it's nice and flat. It's a cute design. And don't forget to turn it off because it is very hot. And now you know how I use my vinyl cutter and my heat press. Thank you so much for watching. Please tune in next week. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Etsy, and feel free to comment, like, subscribe. But I'm just happy you're here. Thanks. Have a great day. See you next week. Bye!